Okay, great.
and then we'll get this party started. All right. So, hello to anybody who may be new to this program. This is Kill This Podcast, featuring me, Pi, as well as Larry
Me.
Fisher. Yeah.
You know, kill the podcast, but don't kill the podcasters.
No, I consider you my co-host at this juncture. So
Okay.
feel
Thank
free
you.
to hop on. But at any at any rate, yeah, this podcast is generally for conversation. I think that's the biggest thing for me. We have two different backgrounds, but also I think we come from similar places. So my entire purpose here is just to talk, whether it be about big issues, small issues, current issues, anything and anything in between. I'm here for that. So
Right. Well, you picked a big one for today,
yeah, yeah, I
and
sure did.
I'm excited that you did. I love the challenge, and it's about religion
Mm-hmm.
and atheism and God and all the things that go with that. So, and what do I know? So I felt I had to take notes, and I, I filled a notebook up, and
Okay, that's amazing.
I wrote and penciled as well because
Okay.
knew that I needed an eraser. And so I feel we're going deep, and
Yeah.
I'm diving from the shallow end of the pool. So I'm going to rely on you a lot for today.
Oh
So
man. Okay. So
if you could start us off, like
yeah,
what made you want to go right away into religion and
into
stuff?
religion right away.
Yeah, well, I
Well,
I mean, I know it's an important part of your being to talk about uh, religions,
right.
and I think in particular, uh, you're an atheist,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine by me. I have no problem with atheists. I have no problem
Thank you.
with most things as long as it's peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh,
Yeah.
the opposite of religions quite often turn into nationalism and stuff like kind of darker side of the imagination. I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, it's all wrapped up, it's all part of the spectrum, you know. I think that something that really I think we both touched on our religious backgrounds. The last time
Yeah,
we spoke, so I won't necessarily get into that a ton, but the main reason why I wanted to talk about this religion in specific is because I think we both have, a background in it that is maybe outside of the norm for some people, or for other people. And then also, it's just one of those things that I think because it so affected me so early in my development, it's just something that I've always kind of kept in the back of my mind, in terms of just trying to see like its influences. You know, came to atheism pretty early in my journey. So it's always been something interesting, just kind of observing the effects that it has, on the world. So I guess specific,
and
yeah.
probably on your family.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And so I realize now that when we were talking, that religion, yes, is very important to me, but also talking about the effects it has on people. Um, I have done a lot of study on like cults, like recent religions as well, like the spin-offs of major religions, and those are really interesting to me too.
Me as well, actually, very
Yeah,
much so.
yeah. Do you have any like like a particular cult that strikes you as interesting?
Well, I mean the QAnon phenomena. is fascinating, and I actually think that the QAnon. I think we might need.
QAnon. QAnon.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we might need to go back a little
Yeah, please.
before we talk about the cults. Uh, just because I think we need kind of a basis of understanding.
Okay.
Like, you know, I don't argue for God, but I really feel that this world historically has needed some myth making scheme of things so that we religions comes out of our imaginations, and then it develops into religion, and uh, then so some for some reason bad people take over every religion.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why that has to happen, but
Yeah.
it seems
Right.
like, so you have all these artists, right, who are, think back to the cave, and we're sitting there and we're drawing on the cave, and we're
Mhm.
developing rituals of how to do things, and we're talking to each other, and hey, Hal, do you believe this? And yeah, I kind of believe that. And then let's have a ritual of a candle. We need candles in this cave, so things are developing in a very pure way, and then it becomes religion, and then after it becomes religion, then there are the skeptics in the
Mhm.
cave, and they say, let's do the math on this and think about it, and well, this makes sense, and this can be turned. This feels science, and this feels not really like it's real, so I ignore it. And so it the battle starts happening between the different groups of the artists who are like, well, and the artists have moved on. Your artists have moved on to the next image in their head, and they'll say, well, I've had enough of that cave. I'm going out of the cave now. And they develop ideas out in the real world,
Mhm.
and they come back to bring home. They went hunting, and they come back, and they have new ideas that they developed with new rituals. Like, let's have a sacrifice for these animals. We should, I feel bad that we're killing these animals. I feel like they have their own intelligence, and I feel bad. So, but we need to eat, and they're eating each other up. So let's at least do a ritual of sacrifice. So, and then it continues, and we keep evolving, and we keep having the need for some sort of communication of uh of what our inner world is saying for us.
Yeah.
And I just feel that we're all connected throughout time, throughout history, to create not even deities, but just at least some form of communication about some sort of spirit world that we all have. So, that my issue with uh, denying a god or an entity or religion is, yeah, religions end up sucking, but we need to continue. Like, I feel like our problem in our current state of the world is that we are trapped right now in false gods, and
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
human so and people clearly need something to keep a spiritual. They seem to desire some sort of spiritual life, and they will go to false prophets and listen to them if they're promised certain things. instead of listening to artists who are actually with loving kindness exploring the spirit. What do
Okay.
you think? How does that grab you, atheist?
Uh, well, are you kind of
No, I'm just,
you?
I'm not, like, I feel individuals. I got no problem with individual being atheist, but I think if you just look at what the world is and has been, that there's always going to be a need for some sort of new uh, enlightenment, which comes from artists who develop their images, and from their images, we get everything from the images. We get we get the cathedral. The cathedral is originally something, an idea of bringing people together to a communal place, and then it gets ruined by by whoever's leading the church. Not always, but I mean, there's there are good spiritual religious leaders who go into the reason for beliefs that they have. I mean, everyone has beliefs that they have been. You grew up with Catholicism,
Mm-hmm.
and do you remember? Do you remember loving it ever?
The religion itself.
Well, the spiritual path of it, like a feeling that you had that was uh, uh, that you got something out of it that felt more than just someone's telling you shit to do.
I think that I always believed that I wanted to, and there were times when I made the effort to try. Um, but I don't think that I ever made that connection to, anything other than, the desire. And then, of course, there were other, things just kind of collapsed from there, I guess. Because I suppose we all kind of start from a sensory place from anything. That's kind of like a big part of my, argument is that really the only way we can truly experience the world is from our own lens, from within our own gray matter, the energy that, controls it and courses through it and whatever. And it's that bond between those two, like the energy and our physical forms through which we experience the world, which is all the only way we can all really tell what reality is beyond, interaction with other people, I guess, and just our environment. But it's like an external out, as an opposed to internal in, or internal internal out as opposed to external in, initially. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm kind of rambling at this point.
No, no.
But
I think this is going to be a rambling hour.
yeah.
As
I'm
I
okay
think
with
by the
that.
10th hour of this, we'll have we'll have gotten somewhere. So I
Yeah.
think this is going to be an ongoing kind of podcast about this ideology.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you my spirituality from
Please.
my horrible experience.
Please do.
So uh, my my mother decided that when we lived on Townsend and Jerome off the Grand Concourse in the Bronx, that instead of going to the public school next to me, that I should go to the yeshiva. And
Right.
I didn't understand why she wanted that for me. We weren't religious at all. I think now in reflection, I think she just wanted me to have as tough an experience of the world as possible, starting at the age of 5.
Well, can I interject really quick?
Sure.
Because what I have to say is, I think that's a key part of it. So I think so much that we have. Of course, our parents have such high. They want so much for us, but I'm trying to compare. My whole ethos, my whole theory, is that the reason that cults work, is because they prey on those drives, whether they be good or bad. And so that in order for, any sort of like large scale like population control, you need to use these cult like um, features to control people. And so all of these, religions, for better or for worse, they do incorporate those. And so I think a lot of people just perhaps are unaware of that, you know? And so, for whether I think the major issue with religion, like you're saying, like we need, or how Mark Fisher was talking about weird and eerie, it's
Yeah.
like the human desire to know, like our curiosity, we need to have answers. And so the answer for some is like, stepping into spirituality or religion, which is great. But for me as an atheist, I am focused on what's true, what's verifiable, because I feel like that's an obfuscation. It's a band-aid over that covers human curiosity, that kind of puts a cap on it. So like it's well and good, and I believe that maybe there are those that believe humanity should head in a certain direction, spiritually and whatever. But like I don't want to be controlled in that way. I want to find my own way and verify through myself, anything that comes in from externally.
Which includes reading about other religions
Right.
and seeing what feels true to you. I have this. What I did with my kids was I said religion and spirituality is a delicatessen,
Mm-hmm.
and, and you go to the delicatessen and you can get half a pound of Christianity because you like the idea that here you have finally a religion that is that has regrets. It killed its savior, and it says, maybe we shouldn't have done that. So, maybe it gives some reflection on, instead of pointing the finger has uh, since the beginning of time, for whatever reason,
Mm-hmm.
humans seem to have wanted to point their finger at others and
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
they're wrong,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so let's kill them. And with Christ, my half a pound of Christ is that here is a spiritual leader uh, who is killed on the cross, and then people have regrets about it, and they understand, they internalize the mistake that they've made, and so in terms of Christianity, that is something that that I like about it. But I taught my kids about Islam and Sufi, and, that
Mm-hmm.
and that Islam is the wine canister, and Sufi is the actual wine. It's a very joyous. There, I don't know if you looked into uh, Sufism, but it's a very neat. It's very much like the early Kabbalistic
Right.
j- journey from before the Bible was written. There's this time before the Bible is written. It comes all the way, this ancient wisdom from Hermes Trismegistus. Do you know? Do you know what that is? Who
I've it's like something to do. I've heard the name. If you want to explain
it's
more about
where
it.
all the occult stuff came out of, and the idea of the Bible was written from all these other religious spiritual books. It was stitched together, and there are other books that were kind of left out, and some of them were Kabbalistic uh, journeys, and then from
Yeah.
the Kabbalistic journey of Judaism came the Western esoteric Kabbalistic occultism. But they are connected.
Yeah.
They're they're different.
I thought
They're
that was
they have
such an interesting connection because through that occultism, you actually get a connection between Kabbalism and the occultism of the Nazis, funnily enough. But there's
yeah,
it's everywhere. That mysticism, that numerological mysticism, it's crazy because it really is everywhere. It's in hopscotch, or like those cards that people use to read people's future or whatever. But it's
tarot.
like tarot
Yeah.
cards is based on Kabbalah.
Yes.
It's wild.
Yes. Yeah. And tarot is a wonderful tarot cards. Tarot cards are amazing. It's an amazing divination, and all these kind of practices like I Ching and tarot and uh, all these other practices are really interesting and fascinating, and worth trying it all out, and allowing oneself to be to experience something other than what is scientific and normal, and I don't need, and that's probably the biggest thing that I have against science,
Yeah.
is the idea that the limitations that science can put on other things, when science all of science came out of occult understandings originally, and then this transformation happens for the last 400 years or so, 500 years, where science has to be the only way to see the world now. And
Interesting.
it's regretful, because there's a lot to be gained by the esoteric ideologies that are out there. There are things that this is how this is how the new ideologies and the artists always move in the spiritual path. We don't know what we're doing. I sit down with with a piece of art that I'm starting. I have no idea what it's going to be or what it's going to become, but I know when I'm working on something and it's making sense in that other way of making sense. I don't have to scientifically know what I'm doing here. I
Sure.
know it's working on a different path. And so this is I just want to say the lessons that I learned by going to this yeshiva. So there I am. The rabbis don't like me because I'm presenting to the other kids a way of being, just by being myself, of non-religious. I'm not respecting the rabbi the way he wants me to respect him, even though I don't realize that I'm being disrespectful. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not trying to be disrespectful, but the prayer. I mean, I learned Hebrew. I learned how to the Hebrew alphabet. The Bible is it's in Aramaic,
Mm-hmm.
but the prayer is in Hebrew, and I don't know if other kids must know what the prayers mean, but I never knew what the prayers meant. So I'm essentially, for the first 2.5 hours of my day, from 8 o'clock in the morning till about 10:30, is I'm in prayer chanting, and I'm just sitting there chanting, not and just my imagination is just going. My whole day was just spent in my imagination. They created an artist in yeshiva, because when they were talking about the Bible and stuff, uh, and all these rules and stuff, I was not paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
I was. my mind was just I loved being punished and just getting to sit in a corner. Just let me sit in a corner and meditate. So my my whole body was just uh, exactly what meditation is supposed to do for you. Slows everything down. Everything just goes away. I'm left, thinking about television shows like The Twilight Zone, and just images are coming to my mind, and that's what most of my day there was, with punishments that came. So there was physical abuse and humiliating experience, and then I walked out on the streets of the South Bronx
Mhm.
where kids were looking at me with my yarmulke on my head, and I really learned about anti-Semitism at a young age. Christ
Sure.
killer. My yarmulke became, I think, was the invention of frisbee. Because they were playing Saluji. Do you know this word Saluji?
No, I don't.
Oh, Suji was, it was keep away and stuff. So, I grew up understanding that there's always people who aren't going to like me. But I
Yeah.
also knew that
Do
there
you
were
do
most
you
people.
did you ever think like well, what was their criticism of you? Was
I
it
was just
purely
the outsider.
yeah, so it was
It's completely
you're
just being the
different.
outsider in the neighborhood that
Wait,
I
so you were in a different neighborhood than where you went to school?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had a walk but the where the school was, all these
Uh-huh.
kids, all these yeshiva students. It was called Yeshiva Zichron Moshe. It was
Uh-huh.
like a big name school for yeshiva and Talmudic study, pre-Talmudic study, and so they all came from I don't know where they came from, but they did not come from my neighborhood in the Bronx.
Oh,
I was the only Jewish kid in the neighborhood at that point.
okay. So you were bullied by kids in your neighborhood.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was completely the outsider.
Ah, I
I,
see. Okay.
yeah, and and which I'm grateful. What a
Yeah.
gift! My mother just gave me this gift of showing me how anti-Semitism works, but also within a Jewish community, how I was an outsider and not going to fit in and not be accepted, and that was just
Yeah.
it just made me grow up. And then when we moved to Flushing, and I went to finally ended up in public school, and there I
Yeah.
am in seventh grade, and Amit was from India,
Uh-huh.
Apkar was from Turkey, Gus had Greek roots. Douglas Pazmino was from Paraguay. My whole table at lunch was this universal table in Flushing at the time. It was just a phenomenal United Nations of people. And I was over at all these uh, people with friends with different backgrounds, eating their country's foods, and just experiencing a different culture every day when I would go over to their house to play basketball or whatever. It was
Yeah.
just a really very powerful, meaningful thing for an outsider like me, because all my friends were outsiders from other countries who were here. So in many ways, I grew up as an immigrant, not as an immigrant child, but as an immigrant.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
just, I'm so grateful now. Of course, all these years, this is 50 years of therapy to get to this point of understanding, because a lot of things that I thought were horrible about my life uh, turn out to be real winning attitudes
Yeah.
that I've been able to incorporate to live a positive life,
I love hearing
or
your
or
I love hearing your
or
perspective on
delusional,
it.
or
Well,
maybe it's just delusional,
yeah.
and I live within a delusion that I'm happy with.
I mean, that's my whole point is that we all do. That's all we can do. There's the whole, theory that, that we ourselves are God, you know, because we create the world around us, or at least our perception of the world creates our reality. You know what I mean? But the reason I really was looking forward to talking to you about these sorts of things is because I think we have so much in common. Like, I very much had a very similar experience growing up, because but it's also kind of the opposite on the other end because both my parents are from the city, and so they were both raised in a very similar fashion to you. However, we moved out of the city and I moved to, suburban areas that were very much more, monoculture, as you could say. So I
How
experienced,
yeah,
racism, I guess, as as compared to anti-Semitism on your
right.
end, specifically because, yeah, I was different, very much a fish out of water. Not only, in because I was in majority white spaces, I was, fish out of water not only in white spaces, but also now in black spaces, because specifically of how I was raised, where I was raised, there weren't very many other black people around who also had my background, as West Indian as opposed to African American, which is a whole other thing. But I just say all that to say I feel your pain. I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, yeah, and, did you ever, did you ever have the kind of experience that I had of understanding that it is that a lot of the people who are putting these the racism or anti-Semitism, it's a very limited amount of people. It doesn't take
Yeah.
much. And did you hold on to it as seeing everyone as being racist, or understanding that there were people who would come to your defense or
Yeah, well,
have
the the beautiful thing about being in, a monoculture,
yeah.
is that you have to. You don't have a choice. I think in any situation that we are in where there are multiple people, we will eventually find our people. In school, that's what happened. I was involved in sports and theater. I did some music stuff. So it's just you find your people and you learn who does not like you for whatever reasons because they'll generally stay away from you or try to bother you, but then not to mess with them, and you find people who were raised right, for I suppose a lack of a better phraseology. But it is, yeah, you find those people, and I've lived, moving from those spaces. I've intentionally lived in spaces like that, like, out in the West Coast, and it's like anywhere, and anywhere you go.
Wait, I
um
didn't know you were on the West Coast.
yeah, I lived out in Portland, Oregon for a couple of years.
Oh shit. Did you love it?
Yeah, I thought it was amazing.
Would you go back?
I would go back to visit.
Mm,
I go back to visit. I probably once. I've been lucky enough to go like once a year the past couple of years.
mm. I feel very much that Bed-Stuy is home for me. Do you feel where
Right.
you are now is home?
Yeah, and that's, it's so funny to me because growing up, it's all about, getting away. At least it was for me.
Yeah.
Um just cuz I had moved around a fair amount as a kid. Like we started out in Georgia and then we moved up to New York. But I was born in New York City actually. So I consider myself a New Yorker at heart, but at the same time I wasn't necessarily raised there, so I don't feel the connection to like stay there and live there. If
Mhm.
if you know what I mean. But I like New York. This is where I spent most of my time and I realize I am comfortable here mowing the
Yeah,
lawn.
yeah. I mean, I actually, am someone who loves LA very much as well,
Okay.
but, I'm not the driver in LA. So,
Yeah, well, that's like a big part of it, isn't it?
yeah,
I
I
actually went
guess
out to
so.
Santa Barbara, and Santa Barbara is beautiful, and the tacos were amazing. But there's
Yeah.
just something, it's just different, it's like the quality of light, or, just like the people are a little different. it's just like not quite, it's just different.
Maybe it's because on one hand, I am such a isolationist. Can spend I can spend every day really home,
Yeah.
and I mean the way that I would want to live my life is every day wake up, write, uh, do art, read, and then around 4 o'clock start preparing for a dinner party where I have 4 to 6 people over, or go out, once a week out. Yeah, that would be my perfect way of living is
Yeah.
just to mostly be home alone, and then
Yeah.
a couple hours a day with other people. Uh, you know.
Balance.
Uh, yeah, and I feel like as much as the reason why I started off the conversation saying like I feel this topic of religion for me is like uh, this deep conversation is like that I'm diving off the shallow end of the pool because here I am talking about all these different religions, and I know a little bit about Buddhism and about
Mhm.
Hinduism,
Yeah.
and probably less about Judaism, probably more about the occult, and
Uh-huh.
but all these all my the plate that I'm presenting that I presented to my kids also includes fairy tales. Fairy tales
Yeah.
are are to me just as important as any of the religions. They have qualities that are connected to the imagination. When I think of fairy tales, I think that that the imagination happened for people, and even before it got to religion, it went to fairy tales first, and
Mhm.
from fairy tales came the came out the religion that connected to it's connected to the magic of life, of thinking about things in different ways
Sure.
than we normally would, and helps us. Fairy tales have, whether we understand them or not, they kind of work on us in an interesting way that
Yeah.
is similar to what is supposed to happen in religions for us. That we get
Yeah.
some spiritual feeling,
It
you know.
almost gives us guardrails. It's like these things if we start out almost as blank slates other than I guess, well, of course our parents and things, but our parents it's like this set of guardrails that has been set up long before, us and our parents and their parents. And through us, whether we really, consent to it or not, will be passed on through us. It's like this, you know, these, yeah, just these beliefs, traumas, what have you. It's just so interesting to think about.
Yeah, and what I'm happy with how I've tried to at least give my kids, Christianity can be about compassion. There's
Yeah.
elements in there. Buddhism has a clarity to it. How the Buddha became a Buddha with meditation.
Mhm.
Hinduism has just all these deities, and it's a very imaginative world, and
Yeah. I think that
these
sorry, I think that religions are great because they all contain truth. Like you're saying, they all have this truth to them that I think anybody can really connect with if they're able to, get their wrap their minds around the concepts. There are these universal concepts that I think most religions, have. And I think that like you were saying with the, the delicatessen analogy, that,
yeah,
we if we can find those nuggets of truth and, apply them to our lives, Something that Terrence Howard says. I don't know if you've watched any of his stuff, but something he says is, if you know something, if you know something true about one thing, you know something true about everything. And I think
Mm,
that really is, if we can. I don't know if you've ever read any like self help books. Like I think a big one is like How to Win Friends and Influence People.
yeah.
But a lot of these books, like the core essence of them is like, if you can, like, in specifically like communicating with people, if you can find like one like way means of communicating with people, like, sales techniques or whatever, you can apply that to, however you talk to people, regardless of if you're talking about sales or if you're talking about a relationship. Like, if you meet people where they're at in one aspect of your life and you realize that, hey, that works for me, then you can, like, expand that to any other various, means of communication. And it's just like, I really do feel that very much there is a lot of value in the truth that is in religion that calls to us, because then we can mine for that. We have a sense for it.
Yeah, you have to be willing to, I mean, a lot of people have been raised to, they've been given a belief system, and then their whole life is based on listening to the truth of that belief system.
Yeah.
Like, you, the prover proves. In other words, you raised whatever you are, then you are go looking to hear the proof of that. You don't
Yeah.
necessarily challenge that
Cognitive
system.
bias.
Yeah, I mean, we both were. I feel, it's a struggle, but it was lucky to then, uh, you know, to read other things and take get our religion from like a fairy tale that
Mhm.
might have, the moral intuition, don't go into the woods alone, or the transformation of, a frog into a prince,
Yeah.
or symbolic logics of wolves and danger and forest and the
Well,
unconscious.
how do you feel about Disney?
Okay. Oh my God. I used to really, streets of East Village punk, and I was totally against Disney. And then, being with Rachel, from LA, I mean, Disney is I mean, maybe that's where, I got my ideas for paying closer attention to fables and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I understand that there are, Disney is another religion where you
Yes.
have to, it's put it on the deli plate,
Yeah. Yeah.
when I'm making my Buddhist Hindu Kabbalah sandwich, I'll look at Disney, and there are things. Disney movies make me cry.
Yeah.
We had a thing where, for a long time, where every Wednesday night we called it Wisney, and so, I was watching Disney films that I thought that I would hate,
Mhm.
and they made me emotional, and, and so there I am crying at things that I never thought I would cry at. So I have that same appreciation, as well as, skepticism.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it
You
has
know,
a
it's
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 a
all about
religion, you
what
said.
what do we need now? There's the things, like, I think that we're set, you and me. We're set
Yeah.
in terms of how we're looking at the world and our appreciation of things. And, I feel incredibly positive about a lot of things. But there's there's a problem out there in this world of people who who haven't been as lucky as us
Sure.
to understand that they can explore things the way we've either allowed ourselves to,
Mhm.
or whatever it is that made us the outsiders that we are, which there were, I'm sure has has been a lot of suffering for you, as there was a lot of suffering for me in terms of growing up in this way.
Yeah.
Rituals in this modern world are 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 important, and many people don't have rituals. Can be the glue that holds communities together,
Mhm.
and where we've lost our way of finding out how to create the the new the new religions that aren't actually about co-opting personalities, like what happened with Scientology or Q. And you see, I actually feel now ready that we can talk about something like QAnon,
Okay.
and these cults
Yeah.
that are out there. Uh,
Yeah.
eh,
Let me
there's no guidance for people of there's no delicatessen for people to go
no. Let
to
me
really.
Yeah, let me hit you with let me hit you with a quote real quick,
Yeah.
and you tell me what you think about it. Writing for a penny a word is ridiculous. If a man really wants to make $1 million, the best way would be to start his own religion.
Is that from Scientology?
It is L. Ron Hubbard himself.
Yeah. Oh, Ron Hubbard. I knew it had to be.
Yeah. So thoughts, concerns.
Yeah. It to me it makes having read a lot of science fiction in my life and having it
Yeah. Yeah.
be a really important part of my world view of cr- getting to new worlds. It's really a shame what he did in terms of how either, I mean, his mental illness
Mhm.
got in the way of actually formulating something which is more of what I feel I am working towards
Yeah.
with my trilogy of novels called Beatniks from Outer Space,
Mhm.
who are who are there's beings from other planets, other worlds, who are signaling to our world, and we signal back, and there's an exchange of ideas, and it's more connected to that delicatessen plate than that I've been talking about today. And it's a shame. Uh, you know, there's another good writer who was really involved with L. Ron Hubbard, by the way,
Yeah.
A.E. Vogt, but he figured out that what L. Ron Hubbard was doing was not what he thought it was going to be, in terms of what I'm suggesting is like that there's other planets and other worlds, and we can use our imaginations to go to these other places while sitting and meditating, or while I was being punished in the corner and just
Yeah.
leaving my body and just
Yeah.
going to this other world.
Have
Uh,
you have you read
yeah,
any of L. Ron Hubbard's books?
of his science fiction. No, because I get. Have you read any of his early stuff?
I read some of it. I read not some of it. I mean, he's written like 1,000 books. It's kind of impressive actually. He was
Yeah.
incredibly prolific. But I read some of Battleship Earth. I think
Oh,
it's
Battleship
called.
Earth. That's right.
Yeah, that they made the movie out of.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was
With
with Travolta, yeah.
Travolta. Yeah.
And I haven't seen the movie because I really should, honestly. It just got terrible, terrible reviews when it came out,
Yeah.
and so, but I mean, at this point, it's probably hilarious to watch. But I read like half of the book, and it was intriguing, and it was well written. Like I enjoyed it, but it just wasn't. Yeah, I didn't feel the need to finish it. I think, and I kind of got I've read some of those like more pulpy, like old school science fiction books, and yeah,
Of
it was
his?
of just random authors like over the
Oh,
years. And he's yeah, it was interesting. I'll have to try to read maybe some of his other stuff at some point, but
there's
I prefer Asimov.
there are writers who write in a science fiction. It could be called science fiction, but the better term for it is speculative fiction. 'Cause it's
Yeah,
more related to people like Borges and just people who they used other worlds just as a means to get to some parts of the imagination, like Roger Zelazny's book, The Lord of Light, is just amazing about and it's all about these Hindu gods that are not really Hindu gods, but they they're alien beings who take on Hindu deities, and then they actually start to believe that they're Hindu deities. It's just an Lord of Light is an amazing book. I think I maybe once spoke to you about Lord of Light because it it, it it's just a really fascinating read, and a lot of
yeah,
like Ursula Le Guin and Harlan Ellison, and I mean the list is very long within the science fiction world, where it's not just about spaceships or Philip K. Dick, but about interesting aspects of the imagination of where those people were writing in a particular way that helped me to question my own being and ask the great science fiction books like Gene Wolfe's The Book of the New Sun. It's all about asking yourself questions. What is he? What the fuck is he talking about? and then and then you have no idea, and then you're like, well, let me read it again, and then you go, oh, I see. He's put clues in the beginning of the book that you don't understand
yeah,
till you've read two books later, and then you say, okay, and then I'm going to read this again, and then discover more. And the more you discover about these speculative fiction writers, like I would put even Thomas Pynchon in that category, and John Barth, and like solid American writers who are not even seen as science fiction, but just academic Americans, like the American James Joyces. We
yeah,
have American James Joyce's writers that are just out of control, brilliant, and then Nabokov is a favorite of mine, and not Lolita, but other other stuff
yeah. Another
is
book I
just
didn't finish.
yeah. There are books that that he's written where there's unreliable narrators,
hmm
and so there are all these books with unreliable narrators. And when you're dealing with an unreliable narrator and then figuring out how they're lying to you, well,
Yeah,
isn't that isn't that a religious experience of dealing with the trickster who's teaching you about how to beware of certain people and certain don't fall for the false prophet and liars, and
yeah,
so there are these great imaginative writers who are writing kind of on I call it a spiritual level to, but they're actually just trying to make you laugh too.
Yeah,
They,
sure.
you know, they're writing jokes in the beginning of the book that you only get at the end. I mean, that takes a lot of guts to do that, to write books where you're saying that there there's only going to be a certain amount of people who are going to get through this, and there's only a certain amount of people who are going to reread this, and there's only a certain amount of people who are really going to get it, and that's who my audience is. I want to get through to those people.
Yeah, that
Isn't that
makes sense.
unbelievable? And that's special.
Yeah, I mean, it really is an art form, right?
Yeah. It really, and when we say art, we're again talking about this, not hierarchy, but imagination is from artists, and from the artists comes magical thinking, which and magical thinking is that you can create the world that you want it to be.
Mhm.
That's what magic means. That people, magicians and warlocks and all these ideas from the books, is really that they are creating worlds of characters who are able to do things that other people cannot do, that they are changing the reality that everybody else is seeing and living in. And if you can, and that is something that, uh, if we can accept that about ourselves, that we can create the world that we want to live in, then you're starting to talk about something special for this world that we're in now.
Mhm.
Because if we have the magic to create what we want this world to be, and not look at the negativity of what the world is, but actually put a positive spin into this world, then we are creating a future, and
Yeah.
within that future are rituals, and yes, maybe some positive religion. Maybe there are multiple positive religions that can come uh, out of what is needed now. Like, where's our renaissance? We're in some space right now where we are just lucky enough to be witnessing the hell that we're in order so that we know that we are going to come out of it. Will I live to see us come out of it? I don't know. I don't care. I'm writing about it. I'm trying to live it. I'm trying to be positive towards this world and creating something new for us all. And I'm looking for the other people who can give me ideas to help create that as well. But it has to be within a community. We can't, and this is where the religious ideas come in, because we need each other in whether it's the religion of atheism, and I just mean that when call it a religion. When I call atheism a religion, I just mean that you too are part of a community that wants to see something happen,
Uh-huh.
whatever the ideology is. in- but there is something where I think calling yourself, and maybe I'm wrong, I'll let you answer it, but calling yourself an atheist is also trying to identify yourself as part of a community that wants to make improvements in this world, and that you see some of the hypocrisies of what has happened because of religions, the death, the destruction
Right.
of of what is going on in this world now in the name of religions. And so why I want to, and I'm just guessing this about you, that you're isolating yourself by calling you're an atheist, but you want that community of other people to join, to be together, to prevent any more violence from happening from these religions that have gone wrong. or have gone dark.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what to call religions that kill other religions, except to be a dark force.
Right. Yeah. I think that's an amazing observation. Yeah, it's I guess in my thinking, like, atheism is not so much about exclusion but about inclusion. I believe that, the most exclusive that you can have someone be is by, placing them in the box of organized religion. Um, I think, of course, there's a hierarchy to religion. Uh, I think it maybe depends on how free people are allowed to be within it to, express themselves and express their own beliefs. But I truly do believe that atheism um, is, and like I've said before, not necessarily a belief. It's the search for truth. It's the search for some manner of proof. It's the search for, you know, a agreement. You know, as an atheist, I can agree with anyone as long as they can approach our, conversations honestly and, back up back up what they're saying. Um, so it's not necessarily, and of course, there are things that we can't know. I think as human beings, there are things that, of course, are completely outside of our, ability to sense or what have you. And I do think that there is a lot to be said for that. But in terms of community, I think it is very important to acknowledge the community and the reality that we experience directly, and not to go the route of some organized religions who are exclusive of people based on belief systems that are inherently imperfect.
Right. And are we winding down, or
Sure.
have we talked about that? No. So
Yeah.
I just for today, my drop the mic kind of moment that I
Uh-huh.
think that I'm going for is that I want to say that these belief systems
Uh-huh.
that people haven't been listening to for 400 years, the occult stuff of the Kabbalah, and it has a secret sauce to it. And, occult just means secret knowledge. That's all it means.
Mhm.
And that there are all different kinds of occult ways of that have been developed. And but a lot of science came out of occultists. Isaac Newton was an occultist. Carl Jung, occultist. Freud, occultist. They just developed a new language and hid the fact that they were actually looking at old knowledge that they were just reinterpreting now as giving it a new word, but psychology is just occultism. It is, and there's
Mhm.
a lot of secret sauce that is that in terms of my 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 whole delicatessen plate. Jewish has a schmear of Judaism. You
Yeah.
know, the wine of the Sufis, and occultism has a secret sauce attached to
Okay. Yeah.
it. What's your drop the Mike? What's your drop the
What's my drop the mic?
Yeah,
Oh man, my drop the mic is that I believe that we are on the precipice of, you know, of a revolution in thought, and that
yeah,
revolution in thought is going to be illumination. It's going to be one of truth. Of we're already seeing in society uh, things that have been hidden. Knowledge that has been hidden, occult occult knowledge that's been hidden
yeah.
for generations. you know, that, powers that be never thought, or maybe they did realize it was going to come out at some point. But I mean, we happen to be at that time where we're seeing it live in 3D in front of our eyes. And so I think that there are those who are in power who would use a lot of, say, occult knowledge, as well as, religious symbolism and things of that nature to try to manipulate people on a grand scale. And so, yeah, like
Well,
a
I mean,
big
that
part.
is happening.
Yeah, it's been happening for a long time. For
But
a long
I'm
time.
saying that I think the revolution is that there's going to be enough people to overtake that. And I have our topic for next week.
Yeah, what's that? Let me write this down.
AI.
AI. Okay.
AI, let's do it.
I'm down. I'm down for
All
AI.
right. Yeah, let's have that conversation about AI. Will it help us?
Mm-hmm.
Will it help the people to it has all this knowledge. Will people allow themselves to gain the knowledge that AI to overcome the people who are overtaking them, or will it suppress us?
Hey, I'm here for that.
That's going
That,
to be
that
a good conversation,
that's
right?
gonna be, yeah, that's gonna be a jam-packed hour. I don't know.
Yeah,
We
that's
might
going to
have
be
to
ten
go.
times better than this one.
Yeah, well, you
No,
know,
this was awesome. This was a great conversation. I thought, I
yeah.
feel like I dove into the shallow end of the pool, but it was a little deeper than I thought. I didn't hit my head.
No, and I knew that you wouldn't, and I appreciate I appreciate you taking the risk and put it on your water wings, or taking off the water wings maybe. But
Man,
yeah,
I
like,
just love. I really do love talking to you.
yeah, I
I
love
love.
talking to you too, and we'll have to plan another episode because I really want to talk about, I want to talk about like the Brian Jonestown massacre, or like, like
The
Mormonism.
band, the band, or do you know the band?
Yeah, I do know the band. I watched a documentary on them. Have you seen it?
No, no.
Yeah, they have one on you. It's probably on YouTube, but yeah,
I
they
knew
have.
that. He was in the East Village.
Yeah, no way. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there were. I think that there were. There was. I can't remember the name of the band, but there was a band that they toured with that was in that scene, and the lead singer showed up at a bar I was in Portland one night. I have to think. I can't remember the name of the band, but yeah, it's a very interesting time, interesting music, interesting people,
Yeah,
and
maybe that
I
one.
hope we can
Maybe that'll
embody
be
some
one
of that.
show. Uh, Bands we met can be a show one day.
Bands we've met, yeah. I mean, I don't have too many, but
Oh, I got it. I got a lot of them, and a
cool.
lot of them. It's really true. You don't want to meet your heroes.
Oh yeah, I bet. Well, man, let's get the next couple months scheduled out.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for being on here, and I will catch you
Okay.
next time. Thank you
All
for listening. If you are listening, have a good one.
right.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.